What better day at the movies than to have Steven Spielberg with us. He can make movies that capture our imaginations and speak to our hearts in a way that no one else can. He's made us afraid to go into the water. He's shown us that we're not alone in the universe. And he's even convinced us that dinosaurs may not be extinct. And perhaps most importantly, he has shown us that good does exist in even the most horrific of circumstances. His latest movie poses the question, would you risk your own life to save that of a stranger? Saving Private Ryan, which is about to open, is a powerful portrayal of the realities of World War II. Take a look.
Do you want to explain the math of this to me? I mean, where's the sense of risking the lives of the 8 of us to save one guy?
20 degrees. Anybody want to answer that?
Drivers, think about the poor bastard's mother.
Hey, Doc, I got a mother, all right? I mean, you got a mother, Sarge has got a mother. I mean, I bet even the captain's got a mother. Well, maybe not the captain.
You recognize some of those people, Tom Hanks and Ed Byrne. By the way, the movie just did open, and we have all seen it, and we adored it. And so please welcome the man who directed it, created it, Steven Spielberg. Saving Private Ryan is a very powerful film, and you know, in another time when they picked the 100 best, it may very well have been on it, but 5 of your films have been chosen by the American Film Institute to be on that 100 list more than anybody else's films. Schindler's List, E.T., Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So I have to ask you the question you've been asked dozens of times and probably hate to answer. Which is your favorite?
Oh,
I know. For the first question, that's an awful question. Right?
Yeah, and the cliche answer to that...
Is the one I just made.
No, the other one is that I have 7 kids. Which one of those kids are my favorite? I can't answer that either.
Okay, then leave out your own movie. You can tell he's been asked that question before. So leave out your own movies. What's your own all-time favorite?
Well, I don't have an all-time favorite because, number one, I'm not a big fan of lists. So, so right away, you know, I always kind of think that movie lists tend to be like the Olympics, you know. It's not really like gold, silver, or bronze. Movies are so personal. There are so many choices we all make about the movies we see. But there's a lot of movies that tie for, like, you know, first place. And how much time do you got?
Well, you can...
We don't, I mean, let's talk about contemporary films, films that come out in the last 30 years at least. I certainly, you know, agree with some of the group here that the first Godfather is ultimately, probably, for me, one of the greatest pictures of the last 30 years, if not the greatest picture.
You know, in Private Ryan, you have said that in Schindler's List, you dealt with the horrors of the concentration camp. In Amistad, you dealt with the horrors of slavery. What are you trying to say about the horrors, or whatever, of World War II?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, A, it happened.
You think young people, in particular, don't think it happened?
No, I think they think it happened, but it happened Hollywood's way. And I was trying to tell a story that happened the way veterans of that war experienced it.
Yeah, it's very graphic.
In real life, and it's what they experienced. It, you know, it's painful to watch, but it was even more painful to experience.
You have said, too, that you don't like to do movies that don't somehow touch you deeply. How did this affect you in a personal way?
Well, you know, movies that touch me deeply, I don't know when they're going to touch me. I'm not sure when it's going to happen. The whole idea of moms and dads waiting thousands of miles away for any word on whether your kids are coming back from a war. And let's talk about maybe the biggest turning point of the 20th century, I think, was World War II. There was only 2 ways you could have gone, in only 2 directions. We had no choice. It was a necessary war.
Unlike some other wars we've had.
Unlike some other wars, World War II was a war that was a necessity, and certainly to win. And I just feel that, you know, for all the moms, and the movie, in a sense, is parenthetically about moms, even though not many appear in the film. It really is the story about what price glory, you know, and what price sacrifice do we put our boys on a mission to rescue another lad in order to return him to his mom because his 3 brothers were killed. But at what expense? How many others have to die to make it right with just one? And that was the moral center of Saving Private Ryan for me.
With the most wonderful characters in it and the most wonderful actors. You had Matt Damon before he won the Academy Award, and we interviewed them, and we have a statement that he made about you. So I'd like to show it to you and then ask you about it.
All right.
Okay? Can we see that? Here we go.
Stood about 2 paces off his shoulder, either left or right, and watched him set up shots and followed him around the set. I made it probably half the day before I had to sit down. I could not, the guy is just tireless. You cannot tire the guy out. I mean, it was incredible.
He's talking about your directing, obviously. When you direct, do you sort of sit back and let it all happen? Or do you reread their lines? Tell us what you're like as a director.
Well, I hope I'm different on every film, because every film brings out of all of us different characters. So Tom Hanks is playing a person unlike anybody he's ever been before in the movies. Matt Damon is, and I think as a director, depending on what the film is, I'm trying to be different with every picture. But the thing that's not different about me, I guess, is I have a kind of like hyper energy level. You know, I can't stop.
That's what it sounds like.
I run around a lot, and I work real fast, and you know, even before the shot's over, I turn the camera off and I pick it up and I run somewhere else. It's the way I began making pictures when I was like 12 years old. I made pictures the same way. Little 8mm camera, you get a shot here. Okay, thanks. Let's not talk about it. Shot over here. Great, next shot. I mean, it's always next shot. And in a way, that keeps the movie alive for me, because it takes so long to make a movie that you can lose sight of the picture the story you're trying to tell. You can forget about the story you're trying to tell if you're getting 2 or 3 shots a day. So I try to work fast because I can see the movie the faster I work.
Yeah. Well, all of that energy is there, and it's what keeps you in control. And I want to talk to you a little bit, because recently you had a terrible experience in which you were not in control, in which you were indeed the victim, when you had a stalker who just went to trial and received 25 years in prison for who was going to rape. And well, you tell us and tell us what it was like for you and your family.
He stated that he was there to rape me. He had a criminal record, a violent criminal record of a previous couple of strikes.
And you were in the middle of making this film.
Well, yeah, it all happened when I was making Saving Private Ryan, and I got the news that this person had repeatedly come to my house, tried to get through the fence, tried to use his car, which he had gotten an automobile that looked just like my wife's automobile, which meant he had been casing us for a while. And he tried to get through the gates by pushing the car against the gates. And, you know, and I was lucky in several respects. A, he didn't get into the house. B, nobody was hurt or injured. But the fact that he was tenacious about this and stated to everybody that his intentions were. And, you know, and he kind of, you know, I think it's not just the price I pay for my success, but I think it was for the first time I realized and appreciated this is the price my family pays for me.
Yeah. It is the most terrifying part of success. Well, we thank God that it concluded the way it did.
Yes.
And we're going to come back and talk about much happier times. All my pals are here. We're going to talk about your childhood. You touched on it a little bit. And we've got lots of questions. We've got questions from the audience. We're thrilled that you're with us. Enjoy the popcorn. We'll be right back. with Steven Spielberg, and when E.T. was released in 1982, it was the highest grossing film of all time, and of course it remains one of the most beloved movies in history. So I always, it's the second time I'm going to ask you the question you've been asked 2,000 times. Do you believe in alien life and UFOs, Mr. Spielberg?
I'll tell you, frankly, I believe in alien life. Yes,
You do?
I do. I can't tell you with any certainty or any part of my personal experience that we've been visited over the last 3,000 years.
You never had a close encounter of the
Never, and all my friends have had it. I've been surrounded by close encounters, and I'm always there like an hour too late.
You've been surrounded by people that have been abducted? Is that what it is?
No, I've never met anybody who's been abducted. Well, maybe I have. I shouldn't talk about that right now.
Why do you believe?
Well, I think it's impossible that there is not life off Earth. It's impossible. Mathematically, it's impossible. There are too many billions of, not only, stars that could support planets, but billions of galaxies that have billions of stars. That's like Carl Sagan using the B word over and over again. But seriously, it is inconceivable that there isn't intelligent life out there somewhere.
You said that this is the most autobiographical of all your films. Why is that? How does E.T. relate to your growing up?
Well, it's sort of about the divorce of my mom and dad. It's what inspired me to come up with the story of E.T. because when my parents were divorced, I was just going off to college. I was looking to fill that hole in my life, and I would use a lot of imagination to try to, find myself, some solace I could take with a person, an imaginary friend. And E.T. really came from the experience of growing up and then having the divorce happen, which is traumatic in any family.
And at any age, as you point out, because you were an older
any
kid.
age.
And somebody told me that you thought that the movie Jaws was a comedy.
I did. I don't understand why people kept screaming. I was laughing all the way through that thing.
There were dead people, Stephen. Lots of them.
Yeah, but the Struck had a smile on his face the whole movie.
Somewhere in the world right now, there's someone on a beach going like this. Donna, Donna, Donna.
What is your most obscure film that the audience might not know about that you made?
They probably don't know about Always, which I made.
I do. Do you think they know about Escape to Nowhere? Think they know that movie Escape to Nowhere?
Well, no one knows Escape to Nowhere. No.
Well, we know it.
You know it?
We have a little bit of that movie, yes. Can you tell everybody what this is, though, Stephen?
Oh, dear, okay. Well, when I was a kid, I began making pictures in 8mm, borrowing my dad's little home movie camera. And the second little film I made, I was about 13 years old, and I made a picture called Escape to Nowhere. It was actually a World War II Army movie, which I made for about $45. And I guess that's some of it. I used all my friends from the neighborhood.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
Those are all 12, 13-year-old kids, and we got the helmets from the Yellow Front Army surplus store for about $1.50 a piece.
Your first
But isn't it interesting
It was
that
World War II, isn't it?
Yeah, World War II.
Yeah, all these years later. Well, you've done several films about World War II. It really has stuck with you.
World War II has been a backdrop, for 2 of the 3 Indiana Jones pictures, Empire of the Sun, 1941, which, my unfunny comedy. And, of course, Schindler's List, which I don't ever include in any genre because the Holocaust really stands out and apart from either the Second World War. It was an event that would have happened with or without the Second World War if Hitler had his way.
Yeah, I was going to ask, we know all the wonderful movies that you've been a part of. Any that you regret not being a part of? Any movie out there that you've passed on that you said, wish I would have been a part of that one?
Yeah, I have a big regret with Rain Man. Remember Rain Man?
Yeah.
You were supposed to direct it?
I was supposed to direct Rain Man. And I had to give it up to do the third Indiana Jones film because I had promised my friend George I would do 3 of the films. And I just took too long developing the script with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. And then that Indiana Jones, the bell rang and I had to say goodbye to one and hello to the other, so.
There is a God. That's why you were doing Indiana Jones 3. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we're going to come back. We have called him one of the greatest directors of our time. He's going to be with us throughout the show, but he also calls himself Mr. Carpool. And when we come back, we will meet Steven Spielberg, the dad. We'll be right back.
That movie